right, friends, so we are going to do more practice on operations with radicals. So specifically what we're going to do all of these addition or subtraction problems, and then we're going to do all these multiplication problems that you see here, and then we're going to do all these rationalizing or dividing, whatever you want to think of it as. We're going to do all these. So this video specifically continues extra practice from my review video on the same topic. So if you want to see a review, I will drop a description, or I will drop a link in the description, my bad, and you can get a free PDF of these problems with an answer key at divideandconquermath.com. Just go to the review section, everything's organized there. Okay, so you know me, I think that you should try these on your own. If you want to pause here to try them, I strongly recommend that you do that, but I am just going to start plowing through these problems like I always do. So, okay, let's get started with this. So this first problem is a nice straightforward one. I like this one because you don't have to simplify anything. You literally just have to identify your like terms. So this and this are like terms or like radicals, while this and this are like radicals. So 7 plus 3 is 10, so this will be 10 times the cube root of 4. And then negative 2 plus 7 is 5, so this will be 5 times the square root of 2. Okay, and so for the next one, so this is really what we have to do for a lot of these problems. So more often than not, you are going to look at the problem and then you're going to see if you can simplify anything. And in this case, I can simplify the cube root of 13. So not the cube root of 13, the cube root of x to the 13. I can't speak. Okay, so the cube root of x to the 13th, I can break this up as x to the 12th and the cube root of just x. So 12 plus 1 will equal 13. And then the cube root of this will be x to the 4th times the cube root of x. So I can rewrite all of this as 8x to the 4th times the cube root of x minus 3x to the 4th times the cube root of x. And now you can see that these can actually be combined. So this will be 5x to the 4th times the cube root of x. All right, onwards. So now I've got the square root of 45 plus 7 times the square root of 5. So in this case, it's going to be the square root of 45 that I can break down. So I can break this down into square root of 9 times the square root of 5. And so then, of course, I can take the square root of 9. So this will be 3 times the square root of 5 plus 7 times the square root of 5. And so this will equal 10 times the square root of 5. Okay, and so for this next one, so I've got 12xy times the 4th root of 9xy, so this can't be simplified, minus 5 times the 4th root of 9x to the 5th, y to the 5th. So these x to the 5th and y to the 5th, those can actually be broken down, right? So I think what I'll do is I'll just kind of focus on this for a second. So the 4th root of 9x to the 5th, y to the 5th, well, I can actually break out this x to the 4th and this y to the 4th, and then I'll still have this other stuff left over, right? So this will just equal xy times the 4th root of 9xy. So I can now replace all of that. So I've got 12xy times the 4th root of 9xy minus 5xy times the 4th root of 9xy. And now I can see that all of this can, of course, be combined. So this will be 7xy times the 4th root of 9xy. Okay, and so for the next one, so that first square root can definitely be simplified. So this square root of xy cubed, well, I can break out y squared times just xy. So this will be y times the square root of xy. So I can rewrite this problem as y times the square root of xy minus 3y times the square root of xy. And so this will equal negative 2y times the square root of xy. And onwards towards multiplications. Again, pause here if you want to try any of these, but I am just going to start going through them. So for this first one, so I just need to distribute everything. So I'm going to take the square root of xy and distribute it in. And you just multiply exactly what's under the radical, right? So this is going to turn into 7x squared y plus the square root of 27x xy squared. And now that we're here, we just simplify wherever we can. So for this first one, I can for sure just simplify that square root of x squared. So that'll turn into x times square root of 7y. And then for this other one, so let's see, I can break out 9y squared and I can leave 3x behind. So if I multiply these back together, 9 times 3 is 27. And then y squared and x will make xy squared. So we're all good there. So this is going to equal x times the square root of 7y plus 3y times the square root of 3x. Okay, so up next, so now I've got this cube root of x squared times all this other stuff. So I'm just going to multiply it straight in. So I've got the cube root of x to the fourth now minus the cube root of x cubed y. And so now I'm just going to break these down where I can. So this will be x times the cube root of x minus x times the cube root of y. So that's how I can break those down. Okay, so next now I'm going to have some foiling fun. So let's see. I will take this first term times this first term. So 3 times 7 is 21. And the square root of 2 times the square root of 2 is the square root of 4. So I'll just leave that like that. And then I've got this part times that part. So this will be plus 3 times the square root of 6. And then this piece is multiplied by that piece. So we're going to do minus 35 times the square root of 10. And then this piece is multiplied by that piece. So we're going to do minus 5 times the square root of 15. You guys are probably like, is she okay? I swear I'm fine. So I'm just doing a lot of math today, okay? I'm fine though. All right, so let's keep going with this. What can I actually simplify? So this is going to be 21 times 2 plus 3 times the square root of 6 minus 35. Yes, minus 35 to the square root of 10. My brain just like flatlined there. And then 5 times the square root of 15. And so to finish this out, so instead of writing all this out, I'll just take this 21 times 2. I'm just going to go ahead and multiply those together. So I'll just erase that and write that as 42. And so there's the final answer. Okay, so continuing on, more foiling fun. So I'm going to have this term times that term. So that's going to be the cube root of 125. And then this term times that term, so that's going to be plus the cube root of 75 minus 2 times the cube root of 5 minus 2 times the cube root of 3. So the only thing that can be broken down in this case will be the cube root of 125. So this will be 5 plus the cube root of 75 minus 2 times the cube root of 5 minus 2 times the cube root of 3. Okay, and so now for this next one, so now I'm squaring everything, but of course we remember that the first step to this actually is you want to write this out as a multiplication problem. I'll actually write this on the next line. So this is going to be square root of 5x minus the square root of 5 times the square root of 5x minus the square root of 5. Okay, so this is what I have to multiply together, right? It is not as simple as squaring this and squaring that. You do have to still FOIL it out. So if I start FOILing this out, I get the square root of 25x squared minus the square root of 25x minus the square root of 25x plus the square root of 25. And so now I can go ahead and evaluate this. So this will be 5x minus 5 times the square root of x minus 5 times the square root of x plus 5. And so this will end up being 5x minus 10 times the square root of x plus 5. And we have one more. So this one is another one where we have to just write it out. So this is going to be 2 times the square root of 6 minus the square root of 3 and 2 times the square root of 6 minus the square root of 3. So let's go ahead and multiply this all together. So taking this times that, so the 2 times 2 will be 4, and the square root of 6 times the square root of 6 will be the square root of 36. Then we're going to have minus 2 times the square root of 18, minus 2 times the square root of 18, and then plus the square root of 9. Okay, and so now this will be 4 times 6 minus 4 times the square root of 18 plus 3. And so that will be 24 minus 4 times the square root of 9 times the square root of 2 plus 3. So this will be 27 minus 4 times 3 times the square root of 2. And so this will be 27 minus 12 times the square root of 2. By the way, if you're finding this helpful, I would love it if you hit that like button, leave me a comment to let me know how things are going, or consider subscribing to the channel. That would be super awesome. Okay, so now we have a whole bunch of simplifying to do. Super fun times. Okay, so starting with this first one. So we talked about when you have just one single square root in the denominator, really all you have to do in that case is you just multiply by what is in the denominator, but whatever you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. So this becomes 6 times the square root of 2 over the square root of 4. So this is 6 times the square root of 2 over 2. Okay, and so we can continue this then for b. So once again, I'll just multiply by what's in the denominator. So I multiply the top and bottom by the square root of 10. In this case, I'm going to get the square root of 50 over the square root of 100. And so there's actually, I can do some simplifying on the top too now, right? So the square root of 50 can be rewritten as the square root of 25 times 2, and the square root of 100 is 10. And so then you'll notice here, square root of 25 is 5. So this is 5 times the square root of 2 over 10. So 5 goes into 10 2 times. So this whole thing simplifies to 2 over the square root of 2. Okay, so one more like this. So once again, so I've got the square root of 6 in the denominator. So I'm going to multiply the top and bottom by the square root of 6. So 14 times 6 is 84. And the square root of 6 times the square root of 6 is the square root of 36. So the square root of 84 can be rewritten as the square root of 4 times the square root of 21. And of course, the square root of 36 is 6. So this whole thing becomes 2 times the square root of 21 over 6, which will simplify to the square root of 21 over 3. Okay, and so for this next set of problems, so now I have 2 square roots in the denominator, so we did discuss what we do with this. So in these cases, you multiply by the conjugate. And so in this case, the conjugate is found by just flipping the sign in the middle. So this is square root of 3 plus square root of 6. Whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. So the top will turn into 3 times the square root of 3 plus 3 times the square root of 6, while the bottom will be the square root of 9 minus the square root of 18 plus the square root of 18 minus the square root of 36. And so this will equal 3 times the square root of 3 plus 3 times the square root of 6. All of this over, these 18s drop out, so this becomes just 3 minus 6. So actually I could use a little more space here, so I'll make some space. Okay, so this is going to equal 3 times the square root of 3 plus 3 times the square root of 6, all of this over negative 3. So now what I want to do is I actually want to break this into 2 separate fractions. So this is going to be 3 over the square root of 3 over negative 3 minus 3 square root of 6 over 3. So the reason that I did that is I just wanted you to see that these 3's will all cancel out. So actually what I'm left with is negative square root of 3 minus square root of 6. So that would be the final answer in that case. Okay, so for this next one, so once again, just multiplying by the conjugate here. So for this one, I will multiply this by square root of 2 plus the square root of 5. So whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. Okay, so let's distribute the top. So this will be 5 times the square root of 4 plus 5 times the square root of 10. And then in the denominator, this will be square root of 4 minus square root of 10 plus square root of 10 minus square root of 25. So this will be 5 over the square root of 4 plus 5 times the square root of 10. So those square roots of 10 drop out, so I'm left with just 2 minus 5. And so this is 5 times the square root of, 5 times the square root of 4 is 2. 5 times the square root of 4 is 2. Plus 5 times the square root of 10, all of this over negative 3. And of course 5 times 2 is 10, so I'll just change that right here. So this is just 10. And so for the last one, so once again, so I'm going to multiply by the conjugate. So this is going to be square root of 6 minus square root of 3. And okay, so now we have a whole bunch of stuff to FOIL out, so let's get to it. So this will be 2 times the square root of 6 minus 2 times the square root of 3 plus the square root of 18 minus the square root of 9. So there will be some things to simplify there. And then in the denominator, we have the square root of 36 plus the square root of 18 minus the square root of 18 minus the square root of 9. So square root of 18 and square root of 9 can be simplified in the top. So this is 2 times the square root of 6 plus 2 times the square root of 3 plus 3 times the square root of 2 minus 3. And then all of this over 6 minus 3. And just in the interest of time here, so 6 minus 3 just equals 3, so I'll just make that change so that you can see it. And so that brings us to the end of this one. So I'm going to leave it at that, and hopefully I catch you guys in another video. Peace.